I cordially welcome you, friends, to our next exciting tourist video through the lands of Egypt. Today I invite you to take part in an incomparable climb to the holy mountain of Moses. This is the place where, according to legend, God gave the 10 Commandments to the prophet Moses. For many Christians, this is a symbolic place. Our adventure began in the warm embrace of Sharm el-Sheikh. Before driving into the magical mountains of Sinai, we decided to use the services of an individual driver to make our trip as comfortable as possible. The caring driver took care of all the organizational issues, and we paid $120 for both of us. If you want to go on a tour, they take place every other day and cost $45, but the group gets large and there are a lot of people at the top. Our $120 allowed us to get away from the crowds and have a better experience climbing Mount Moses. The amount included not only transportation, but also our Bedouin guide, who became an indispensable companion in this night adventure. The price also included lunch and even the necessary warm clothes provided for us. The meeting was scheduled at our hotel at 22 in the morning, when the dark evening completely enveloped Sharm el-Sheikh with its blanket. Through the darkness we set off, moving north along the Sinai Peninsula. The road was not close, but every kilometer reminded us of the upcoming meeting with the majestic Mount of Moses. How do you feel now? Is it cold? Yes, I am very cold. And you must rise even higher. It is terribly cold there. There were many patrols and checkpoints on the road, since Israel and the Gaza Strip are nearby, where major military events are currently taking place. By midnight we arrived at the foot of Mount Sinai, where the darkness of the night was only a prelude to our ascent to the summit. The driver took us to a local shopping pavilion with Christian icons. There is a large church of Saint Catherine here. There are ancient icons here. Many of them were made a long time ago. All this is handmade. And in this shop we also sell ready-made handmade icons. We don't have a factory. All these icons are made by monks. Here you can purchase different icons to choose from for yourself or your loved ones. Ancient monastic icons are among the most important and revered icons in Christian society, many of which, among other things, are considered miraculous. Some people believe in it, some don't. This is a matter of personal faith. Nowadays, ancient monastery icons can be found in many cities and countries. However, when it comes to the most ancient of them, it is impossible not to remember those kept in the famous monastery of Saint Catherine on Mount Sinai in Egypt. Near the foot of Mount Moses is the famous monastery of Saint Catherine, also known as the Sinai Monastery. It was built between 548 and 565, and today it is considered one of the oldest operating Christian monasteries in the world. Unsurprisingly, this holy site is home to some of the most ancient monastic icons, including the oldest known icon, Christ Pantocrator from the Sinai Monastery, and a very important Christian icon of the Virgin Mary and Child Jesus, dating back to the 6th century AD. If you want, you can order a camel from a Bedouin so that you can climb the Mount of Moses on it. But that's if you personally want to. It's better to go up on foot, so you don't freeze. And you will see everything better. And also, as it is written on the internet, if you climb to the top of the mountain on a camel, then all your sins will fall on the camel. But in this case, the camel will take on many of the person's sins, and he will be very unhappy. I feel sorry for the camels. In general, the icon of Christ Pantocrator is the oldest Byzantine religious icon, dating back to the 6th century AD. The earliest known surviving depiction of Jesus Christ as Pantocrator, i.e., ruler of all. Historians and scholars consider it one of the most important and recognizable works in the study of Byzantine art, as well as Eastern Orthodox and Eastern Catholic Christianity. Through the impenetrable darkness of the night we arrived at the foot of Mount Sinai. The stars of the sparkling sky winked at us mockingly from above. The car in which we were brought as individual tourists stopped, opening the doors, from which the chilling air of the night mountains flew. Time stood still at this hour, when everything around seemed immersed in a magical sleep. 2 o'clock in the morning is an hour when nature usually rests in silence, and only the sounds of the night inhabitants awaken in their mysterious ballet. However, there was not a soul on the paths near Mount Sinai at this time. It's just us and our guide heading towards the entrance to the territory where the trail begins. A local Bedouin is waiting for us ahead. His name means handsome. In Arabic his name is Jamil. This is a local Bedouin guide, who probably also felt the magic of this unusual early morning and was already in a hurry to meet us in order to further overcome this route for the 5,000th time, where he knows every stone even in the dark. -Celsius covered the surrounding world with an icy blanket, forcing us to breathe in the air with special trepidation. We have insulated ourselves. We took flashlights. Every step along the path sounded like an invitation from nature to raise its head and pay attention to us, lonely travelers who decided to watch the sunrise on the top of the mountain. Today is not a tourist day, and Mount Sinai was our inviolable territory. Groups of tourists will arrive only tomorrow, but for now we, the two of us and our local guide, will be able to enjoy this unique moment when we become part of nature, not yet awakened from its night's sleep. The night sky on Mount Sinai is magic, shrouded in mystery, like a blanket of stars stretched over the mountain peaks. The fiery jewels of heaven shine with a bright light, as if the pharaohs of ancient Egypt had scattered their treasures in the vast expanses of eternity. Your name translates to beautiful. Whose is my name? Yes, it means handsome. Yes, the name Jamil means handsome in Arabic. We also have a female name Jamilia, which translates to beautiful. Everything is clear. The towering peaks of the mountain range surrounding Mount Sinai, like sentinels, rise even higher with every step, creating a mysterious and majestic feeling, as if gods and titans met in heaven. Mount Kataran, majestic and unshakable, rises to a height of 2,629 meters, like an immortal guardian. This is the highest point on the map of Egypt. From the trail, this mountain seems like just a giant spot on the horizon. At its top, at the site where the relics of the great martyr Catherine were found, there is an Orthodox chapel, built by monks with donations from the Russian Tsar Ivan the Terrible. Under the light of the moon, the mountain peaks of the Sinai Peninsula transform into an enchanting landscape where shadows play their game and the contours of rocks emerge from the darkest corners of the night. Dark gorges and overhangs become mysterious, as if the secrets of centuries are hidden in them. But there is also something frightening about this beauty. In the silence of the night, when the stars sparkle like precious stones on black velvet, the mountains of Sinai can seem like a mystical gateway to another world. The night sky on Mount Sinai is not only beauty, but also an encounter with the greatness of nature. In general, Jewish tradition has not preserved the exact location of Mount Sinai. The veneration of the current Mount of Moses as Mount Sinai is an ancient Christian tradition dating back to the beginning of the 4th century. In modern times, of course, other options for identification were proposed. But circumstances have developed so that the current mountain, being one of the highest mountains in Egypt, has become a symbol of pilgrimage. Today, at the top of Mount Moses there is an Orthodox Church of the Holy Trinity and a small mosque. I will show you all this later in this film. To the north of the church, under a rock, there is a small cave where, according to the Bible, Moses hid for 40 days and nights. On the northern slope of the mountain there is an Orthodox cave temple of the prophet Elijah and his well, as well as an Orthodox chapel of the Virgin Mary. From the north at the foot of the mountain stands the monastery of St. Catherine. In the Bible, the mountain is mentioned under different names. Sinai, the mountain of God, the mountain of God Horeb, are simply Mount Horeb. The events at Sinai are sometimes spoken of in Horeb. Mount Sinai is also mentioned several times in the Quran. For example, I swear by Mount Sinai, or there is also such a line as, "We grew for you with this water an olive tree, which comes from the mountain of Tur in the region of Sinai. It grows oil and seasoning for those who eat."
Hello.
The morning on the top of Mount Sinai woke us up with its soft, barely noticeable light. We went to visit the Bedouin. There are still 2 hours until dawn. We need to sleep here before the final push to the top. At the top of Mount Sinai, in the heart of the ridge where heaven and earth merge, the Bedouin created their cozy refuge. A hut, built from simple materials, but filled with an atmosphere of paid hospitality and the spirit of centuries. The hut of these Bedouin, built from cardboard, stones and wood, like a magical shelter created by hands, gave us the opportunity to sleep. Modest walls, decorated with bright carpets and national patterns, personify the traditions and history of this unique people. Inside the hut, where it is a little warmer than outside, the fire in the Bedouin's gas burner from a gas cylinder blooms like a blue flower, bringing a little warmth and soldierly comfort. Bedouin, carefully dressed in their traditional robes, prepare tea and lay out camel wool blankets to demonstrate their craftsmanship and offer guests a warm night under the stars. But everything here is worth the money. Outside the window there was an incredible picture: endless mountains, covered with a light blanket of pre-dawn light, and the black sky was gradually colored by the reflections of dawn. We fell asleep under blankets for 2 hours. But nevertheless, they managed to cool down considerably and freeze to the bones, so that their teeth were chattering. But as soon as we stepped onto the floor made of wooden planks after sleep and went outside, we felt the blow of the cold wind that had previously penetrated through every crack in the walls. It was really cold at the top of the mountain, and only one gas water heater in the corner of the room was our only ally in the fight against this freezing cold. The street toilet froze us well. The gas burner belonged to another Bedouin who runs a small business here with his brothers. A Bedouin sells blankets, tea, coffee, snacks and water. The wooden walls of this house were cracking from the frost, creating a melody, as if the ancient mountains were talking to each other. We wrapped ourselves in camel blankets to protect ourselves from the cold and gathered around the only source of heat. The Bedouin, the merchant and owner of this house, smoked a hookah near the gas water heater with skill, as if it were the most natural thing to do on the holy mountain. The temperature in the room did not rise above +5 degrees, but our hearts were filled with adventure. Climbing to the top of Mount Sinai at a height of 2,285 meters meant meeting new horizons and unexplored paths that could lead us into the future. And every moment in this wooden Bedouin shelter became part of our unforgettable history. The light of dawn penetrated the high peaks of Mount Sinai, as if a slow symphony of nature began its ascent. The shimmer of pink, orange and gold turned the rocks into majestic paintings, revealing secrets dating back to the most ancient years. These granite structures, formed at a late stage in the evolution of the Arab-Nubian shields, were not only the solid foundation of the earth, but also evidence of the age-old dance of natural forces. The ring complex of Mount Sinai, formed by alkaline granites, volcanic rocks and a variety of other rock formations, seemed to tell a story over centuries and millennia. Against the backdrop of majestic rocks, the light of dawn turned every crack into a picturesque canyon, and every ledge into a theater of incredible shapes and shades. The character of the exposed rocks, from cyanogranite to alkali feldspathic granite, created complex compositions of colors and textures, as if an artist of great scale was painting nature itself. Mount Sinai, like a magnificent volume of history, opened its pages with every ray of the rising sun, allowing you to plunge into its majestic and mysterious depths. My heart skips a beat as my eyes meet the unruly peaks of Mount Sinai, and I realize that this ascent will become a kind of guiding thread through time and spiritual dimensions. Looking at these mighty ledges, I understand that I am stepping on the same holy ground where, according to legend, God gave Moses the indisputable commandments. Here we are. At the top of Mount Moses there is the Orthodox Church of the Holy Trinity in a small mosque, built a little later. The mosque is always open, unlike a locked temple. As I said earlier, north of the church under the rock there is a small cave where, according to the Bible, Moses hid for 40 days and nights. In general, Christians have made pilgrimages to Mount Sinai since ancient times. In recent decades, from several dozen to several hundred people climb the mountain every day. Pilgrims and, mainly, just tourists who come mainly from the resort of Sharm el-Sheikh. From St. Catherine's Monastery there are 2 paths to the top, a short one and a long one, which connect near the top. The short trail is much steeper and more difficult. It is a traditional monastic and pilgrimage path. It has approximately 3,100 steps and is only accessible on foot during the day, leading directly past the Church of the Prophet Elijah and the Chapel of the Virgin Mary. The long trail is flatter and allows you to ride almost to the top on a camel, which is offered to those interested by the local Bedouin. Along the long trail there are rest stalls selling hot drinks, sweets and blankets. The current practice of climbing the mountain at night to watch the sunrise is a product of the tourism industry. In this case, it is preferable for the pilgrim to ascend at night along the long path and descend during daylight along the short path. But here you need to correctly calculate your strength, because the descent along the short one, as well as the ascent, is more difficult than the long one. All temples and chapels located on the mountain are usually closed. You can visit them only after receiving an accompanying person at the monastery or the keys by special arrangement. The mosque at the top is open. By the way, about 113 ancient Armenian and 20 Georgian inscriptions have been preserved in Sinai. As I rise, I become a witness to the centuries-old paths of Christian pilgrims, whose traces go back into the depths of time. Today, not only those who seek spiritual awakening come here, but also travelers who intertwine their destinies with the top of the Mount of Moses. Step by step, we are getting closer to the mythical peak where heaven touches earth. Two paths lead to the top, a short one and a long one. A short path, winding and rapid, like the path of life with its ups and downs. A traditional monastic route, it takes travelers to heights step by step. But today the route along the steps was closed, as the Bedouin guide told us. You can only walk along this path on foot, as a tribute to the sacredness of the mountain, and you can easily fall on camels there. There have been cases of falls and ordinary tourists climbing on foot. As you understand, we climbed a long path. The long trail provides an alternative. It's a gentle slope. The camels offered by the locals become companions for many here, adding a touch of authenticity to the journey. Tents are pitched along the trail, creating rare oases for relaxation. Somewhere in the distance, tea is boiling, the aroma of drinks is calling. But all this usually happens in the summer. Now it's brutal January and there are few tourists. Rest stations are like temporary altars where you can relax while eating and socializing. Friends, we are now descending from Mount Sinai, famous mountain. We climbed here, as you understand, in January. It is extremely cold weather and windy. Low temperature. We spent the night in a hut where Bedouin live on the top. Overall good people. Just everything for money. This is normal for these places. Including the blanket I am wearing. Even the toilet in a wooden box on the street is paid for. Steam was coming from his mouth. The weather is January. It was very dark that night and cold. Therefore, let us already go down the mountain and look at the mountains in the light of day. But now the dawn has already arrived. And this means that it is time for us to descend from the mountain of Moses. Everyone made their own wish on the mountain. Servants had already arrived from the Church of St. Catherine and opened the Church of the Holy Trinity to perform morning prayer. We are starting to descend from this icy January mountain. And the return route is quite interesting, since it passes entirely in daylight and you can see many details that were hidden in the night when we climbed for 3 hours. I must say that in Islam this place is also revered. How? For example, at a minimum, Muslims consider the Prophet Moses to be their prophet as well. Only they call it Musa. Therefore, Jabal Musa is associated with the Islamic prophet Musa, i.e., Moses. I know that in the Quran, Musa is revered as an outstanding prophet and messenger of God and the most frequently mentioned person in the Quran. Mu's name is mentioned 136 times in the Quran, and his life is told more often than about any other prophet. In particular, numerous references to Jabal Musa exist in the Quran, where it appears in Tur Sena, Tur Sinan, or at Tur, as well as Al-Jabal. These are all local mountains. As for the adjacent Tuva Valley, it is considered Muqaddas, that is, according to Islamic concepts, sacred. And part of this mountain is considered a blessed place according to Islamic laws. Muslims believe that this is where Musa spoke to his Lord. Look how close the stories about Moses are in the Islamic and Christian faiths. According to the Quran, Musa, that is, Moses, was born into an Israeli family. As a child, he is placed in a basket that flows down the Nile, and Musa is eventually discovered by the Pharaoh's wife named Pharaoh. The wife is not named in the Quran, but in Islamic tradition she is called Asiya. This wife of the Pharaoh considers Musa her adopted son. After coming of age, Musa resides in Midian before traveling to Egypt again to threaten the Pharaoh. During his prophecy, Musa is said to have performed many miracles and is also said to have personally spoken to God, who grants Musa, that is, Moses, the title of speaker to God. In Islamic they call this Kalim Allah. The most popular miracle of the prophet is that he parted the Red Sea with a miraculous staff provided by God. But now I want to draw your attention to the well with the tree. This is the well of Elijah, another interesting and sacred site on the Sinai Peninsula associated with the prophet Elijah. This well is considered miraculous. Eli drank from it during his flight from Queen Jezebel. According to the Bible, Elijah, the prophet of God, fled from Queen Jezebel, who was looking for him to kill him. While fleeing, Elijah came to this well and drank from it. Also, according to legend, God sent Elijah to this well so that he would be reliably supplied with water and spend time there preparing for worship. The well of Elijah is located near the Holy Trinity Monastery in the Cave of Moses. The place has great spiritual significance for believers who come here to pray, honor the memory of the prophet Elijah and seek spiritual inspiration. Elijah's well is also a popular pilgrimage site and its water is considered blessed. To this day, the well serves as a reminder of the spiritual source and sacred history of this place. It continues to attract travelers and believers who seek spiritual enrichment in it. According to Islamic theology, all Muslims must believe in every prophet and messenger of God, including Musa, i.e., Moses, and his brother Harun. The life of Musa is generally seen as a spiritual parallel to the life of Muhammad, and Muslims believe that many aspects of the two men's lives are common. Islamic literature also describes a parallel connection between their people and incidents that occurred during their lifetime. For example, the exodus of the Israelites from ancient Egypt is considered similar in nature to the migration of Muhammad and his followers from Mecca to Medina, as both events unfolded in the face of persecution. Then the Israelis were persecuted by the ancient Egyptians, and the first Muslims by the Meccans, that is, the inhabitants of Mecca, respectively. Musa revelations such as the Ten Commandments, which form part of the content of the Torah and are central to the Abrahamic religions of Judaism and Christianity, are also reflected in Islam. Consequently, Jews and Christians are designated by Muslims as people of the book. Musa, i.e., Moses, is also revered in Islamic literature, which recounts incidents from his life and miracles attributed to him in the Quran and Hadith, such as his direct conversations with God. The sun, like a golden artist, stroked the peaks of Mount Sinai with its pristine light, awakening the volcanic beauty of this sacred piece of land. We went down the winding path that stretched out before us, like a guiding thread in a world surrounded by granite images of the elements. Bedouin Jamil, our guide, walked in front of us with invisible confidence, as if he knew every stone of this ancient place. The mountains rested in the golden embrace of the sun's rays, and in this light of day the stones, as if frozen in the dance of time, bloomed in multicolored shades. Magic was reflected in every crack, as if unknown forces were giving them their own light. As we descended, The heat became more and more noticeable, and we decided to free our bodies from excess clothing. The mountains stretched ahead, like a landscape from another planet. Volcanic rocks, conquered by time, were surprising. Suddenly, another landscape of subaerial flows and former volcanic eruptions opened up before us. Look at these photos when Mount Sinai is covered in snow. Wow, it can be. And this snow is only on the top? No, yes, everywhere here. When snow falls, everything here is covered with white snow. It can stand here for several days and not melt. Oh, wow. Marvelous. And it rarely happens that snow falls and immediately melts. The snow usually lies for a week, maybe then it will melt. And that path that goes up the mountain. What's there? There is a monk's cell there. Ah. And how to get there? Is it possible to go there on your own? Yes, you can. But everything is closed there. There are still many caves here. Yes, I saw a lot of caves in these places on the map. And there are many houses for Christian hermits. These are all monks' cells. Do monks really live there permanently? No, they actually open their huts when Easter comes. Then the monks' cells open and services are held there. But usually everything is closed there. Okay, thanks, now it is clear. But the trails here are very narrow in the mountains. Yes, the paths are narrow. The subvolcanic porphyry, that is, the local stone from which the mountains here are partially composed, showed its history in every crack and bulge. The Sinai Mountains became a magical landscape, as if we were on an expedition to the unknown planet Mars, where time and space do not exist. Descending along the path, we witnessed how every stone, every rock, every crack in these mountains were living witnesses of antiquity, millions of years older than us. The whole scene seemed like a captivating dance of time in the glare of sunlight. Peering at the photos on his phone, Jamil delicately suggested looking at Mount Sinai in a different light, in a snow-white outfit covered with a light blanket of snow. On his phone, these images revealed a new dimension to this sacred corner, as if the mountains had touched moments of eternity. Plunging into a conversation about hermit cells, Jamil revealed the secrets of monastic life in these secluded places. Jamil emphasized that Mount Sinai is not just stone slopes, but a place where every stone, every cell, every footprint in the snow is holy. Jamil has lived here for more than 30 years, and every time he is captivated by these mountains with their beauty. Here, among the granite peaks, lies the rich heritage of Christianity, like the pages of an ancient book turned over by time. Friends, I must sum up our night climb to Mount Sinai. It was a unique and unrepeatable climb up the mountain. What can I say after the ascent? I would like you to evaluate your strength, since it takes more than 3 hours to climb. During this time, it is unlikely that you will freeze when you move. But remember that it is very cold here in winter. Therefore, take more warm clothes, lots of fleece and down jackets. Warm clothes will definitely come in handy here. Warm sweaters will also be useful here. Or at the top, you can rent a camel blanket from a local Bedouin for money. It costs 100 Egyptian pounds to rent. But remember that their huts are poorly heated, and you can cool down and freeze in them in the winter when you wait for the dawn. Yes, now the sun is out and everything is fine, even warm. It's wonderful when the sun lights up the path and we move on. Now we are approaching the Church of St. Catherine. This is one of the oldest Christian churches in the world. There is a camel camp here. Let us just say that this is a camel taxi company. Let us wrap this up with this video. With this we will say goodbye. Watch other episodes on my channel and support the channel with your donation. And we'll see you in future episodes on the channel. Well, we approached the Church of St. Catherine in the light of day. Let me remind you that this temple is one of the oldest continuously operating Christian monasteries in the world. Founded in the 4th century in the center of the Sinai Peninsula at the foot of Mount Sinai, Mount Horeb, at an altitude of 1,570 meters above sea level. The fortified building of the monastery was built by order of the Byzantine Emperor Justinian in the 6th century. The inhabitants of the monastery today are mainly Greeks of the Orthodox faith. Initially, this temple was called the Monastery of the Transfiguration or the Monastery of the Burning Bush. And since the 11th century, in connection with the spread of veneration of Saint Catherine of Alexandria, whose relics were found by Sinai monks in the 8th century, the monastery received a new name, the Monastery of St. Catherine. Already in 2002, The monastery complex was included by UNESCO in the list of World Heritage Sites. Well, then our story really comes to an end. We said goodbye to our Bedouin and went to our driver's car, which took about 4 hours to Sharm el-Sheikh along the Sinai roads. And Egyptian landscapes flashed through the windows. Outside the car windows, the mountains of the Sinai Peninsula slowly flashed by, like ancient sandy guardians of time, folded into the covers of daylight. The local Arab driver, easily maneuvering along the winding roads, turned on his favorite Arabic music, and to this musical accompaniment of the national culture, we thought about the end of the trip. Suddenly, a loud melody of Arabic music was heard through the speakers, filling the salon with the sounds of the East. The driver, with visible pleasure, turned on the music even louder, in which the shimmer of an exciting ocean of Arabic notes could be heard. It was the sound of the Sinai Peninsula, where every note echoed the history of antiquity and the beauty of nature. In this place, where the holy places of Christianity and Islam are closely intertwined, music created an invisible bridge between beliefs. The driver, who speaks Russian well, explained that here, in these mountains, traces of a community of faiths can be found in every detail. He said that the prophets, being important figures in both Islam and Christianity, become a bridge between two cultures and a link in the dialogue of believers. Along the road, Bedouin offered excursions to Christian shrines, as if in a hospitable shelter of different faiths and cultures. All the intricacy of this place was transformed into an amazing kaleidoscope of cultural and religious discoveries. The mountains of the Sinai Peninsula, accompanied by the music of the East, became not only a colorful backdrop for the journey, but also a living stage where centuries-old stories merged together, creating a unique moment in time. Christianity and Islam have definitely united, somewhere on a commercial basis, somewhere on a historical basis. This trip left its mark on us. And if you liked this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel and write your comment. Go to my channel and watch other videos. I think you will find it interesting. And we'll see you in new releases. See you.